The docking bay of the Celestial Traverse hummed with the familiar vibration of a ship preparing for deep space departure. Kevin adjusted the straps of his duffel bag, his heart hammering against his ribs as he stepped through the airlock. This was it, his acceptance into the Galactic Engineering Corps' prestigious internship program. A human among the stars, working alongside the galaxy's finest. What they hadn't mentioned in the acceptance letter was that he'd be the only male on a crew of dragon women from Dracoria Prime. The airlock cycled open, and Kevin found himself face to face with the most striking being he'd ever seen. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her scales shimmering between deep crimson and gold under the ship's lighting. Horns curved elegantly from her temples, and her amber eyes, vertical pupils dilating with what he could only describe as shock, locked onto him. "You're the human engineer." Her voice was melodious, tinged with disbelief. Kevin Mitchell, reporting for duty. He extended his hand, trying to remember the briefing materials. Had he missed something important? She stared at his hand as if it were a live grenade. "I am Captain Elsa Thornskill. Welcome aboard the Traverse." She didn't take his hand. Instead, her tail, thick and muscular, covered in the same crimson scales, twitched nervously behind her. "Follow me. I'll show you to your quarters." As they walked through the corridors, Kevin noticed something odd. Every dragon woman they passed stopped mid-stride, their eyes widening, their conversations dying mid-sentence. Some whispered behind clawed hands. Others simply stared, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and something he couldn't quite identify. "Is everything all right?" Kevin asked, quickening his pace to match Elsa's long strides. Elsa's scales seemed to darken slightly, a blush. "The crew is curious. Dracorian males do not leave our homeworld, ever. Most of my crew have never seen a male of any species, let alone shared living space with one." Kevin nearly tripped over his own feet. "Wait, what?" Elsa stopped before a door marked with his name in galactic standard. "On Dracoria Prime, males are precious, protected. They remain in the sanctuary cities, guarded and revered. Only females venture into space, into danger, into the unknown. It is our way." She palmed the door control and it slid open to reveal a modest cabin. "These are your quarters. Dinner is at 1900 hours in the mess hall. Try not to cause too much excitement." Before Kevin could ask what that meant, she was gone, her tail disappearing around the corner. The mess hall was chaos. Kevin had barely entered when the conversation stopped. 20 pairs of reptilian eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made his survival instincts scream. The dragon women ranged in scale color from deep emerald to sapphire blue, from obsidian black to pearl white. Each one was tall, powerful, and currently staring at him like he was the galaxy's most fascinating specimen. Hi," he managed, giving an awkward wave. The room erupted. Questions flew at him in a dozen languages before his translator chip could catch up. "Is it true human males are fragile? Do you breathe fire, even a little? Your scales are so smooth. How do you regulate temperature? Can I touch your hair?" Elsa's voice cut through the chaos like a plasma blade. "Enough! Everyone stations. Now." The captain stood at the head of the room, her presence commanding instant obedience. The dragon women dispersed, though their eyes kept darting back to Kevin. "Mr. Mitchell, please join me." Kevin gratefully took a seat across from her. A younger dragon woman with bright azure scales brought them both trays of food, something that looked like roasted meat and bioluminescent vegetables. "I apologize for the crew," Elsa said, her tone formal. "This is unprecedented. Some of them have never even seen holovids of males. Our culture keeps such images restricted to prevent complications." "Complications?" Kevin took a bite of the meat. It tasted like chicken, if chicken had been raised on lightning and determination. Elsa's claws clicked against her tray. "Dracorian females are conditioned from hatching to protect males at all costs. To see one in potential danger, in space, on a ship that could encounter pirates, radiation storms, or worse, it triggers very deep instincts. You may find the crew being overprotective. As if to illustrate her point, a green-scaled dragon woman appeared at his elbow with a cushion. For your seat. I read that humans need soft surfaces to prevent injury. I'm fine, thank you. Does the temperature suit you? I can adjust it. Really, I'm. Another dragon woman leaned in from his other side. The meat is fully cooked, yes. I ensured it myself. Humans cannot process raw proteins. Kevin looked to Elsa for help. The captain's expression was carefully neutral, but he could swear he saw amusement dancing in her amber eyes. Ladies, Elsa said firmly, give our engineer space to breathe. He's perfectly capable of eating without assistance. They retreated, but not far. Kevin felt like a specimen under glass for the entire meal. The next few weeks were an education in more than just starship engineering. Kevin threw himself into his work, and he had to admit, the Traverse was magnificent. The ship ran on a hybrid fusion crystal drive that he'd only read about in theoretical papers. Under the guidance of Chief Engineer Vara, a massive black-scaled dragon woman with silver horns, he learned systems that were decades ahead of human technology. You're a quick study, Vara rumbled approvingly as Kevin successfully recalibrated the plasma distribution network. For someone so small. Thanks, Kevin wasn't sure if that was a compliment. Vara's tail wrapped protectively around the railing he was leaning against. Be careful on that ledge. The gravity plating can fluctuate. I'll keep that in mind. Perhaps you should work from the ground, safer. Vara, I'm 30 feet up because the access port is 30 feet up. I could reach it easily, let me. I've got it. This was the pattern. Brilliant, competent dragon women who could tear apart a plasma conduit with their bare claws, treating him like he was made of spun glass. It was infuriating and endearing in equal measure. But it was Elsa who fascinated him most. The captain ran the ship with precision and authority, her commands crisp, her tactical mind sharp. She treated him professionally during duty hours, but he'd catch her watching him sometimes, studying him with those amber eyes as if trying to solve an equation that didn't quite add up. One evening, he found her in the observation deck, staring out at the star-streaked void of hyperspace. The colors shifted and flowed like oil on water, beautiful and alien. Mind if I join you? He asked. Elsa glanced at him, then nodded toward the space beside her. It's a public area. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Finally, Kevin spoke. Can I ask you something? You may. Why did you accept a human intern if it was going to cause all this chaos? Elsa's laugh was unexpected, a rich, warm sound that seemed at odds with her usually formal demeanor. Honestly, I didn't know. The Galactic Core file listed you as human engineer, suitable for deep space assignment. I assumed you were female. By the time I realized the truth, you were already in transit. Canceling would have required paperwork that would take months. So you're stuck with me. I didn't say that. She turned to face him fully, and he was struck again by how truly alien she was and how beautiful. You're an excellent engineer, Kevin. Vara says you have instincts for the work that can't be taught. The crew adores you even if they smother you with concern. And you, she hesitated, you treat us as equals, as individuals, not as monsters or curiosities. Why would I treat you any other way? Because most species see Dracorians as weapons, as beasts in civilized clothing, but you see engineers, pilots, people. Her tail swayed slowly behind her. It's refreshing. Before Kevin could respond, the ship shuddered. Warning klaxons blared. Elsa's demeanor shifted instantly. Bridge report. The comm crackled to life. Captain, we've dropped out of hyperspace. Unknown vessels on intercept course. Signatures match Zarlan raiders. Pirates. Battle stations. Elsa was already moving, Kevin running to keep up. Mr. Mitchell, get to engineering. We'll need every bit of power you can give us. The next hour was pure adrenaline. Kevin worked alongside Vara, rerouting power, reinforcing shields, keeping the engines running at 110% capacity while the ship bucked and rolled from weapons fire. Above them, he knew Elsa was orchestrating their defense, her tactical brilliance turning a dangerous situation into a manageable one. But then, hull breach deck 3, someone shouted over the comm. Vara's eyes widened. That's near the backup life support systems, if those fail. I'll go, Kevin said, already grabbing an emergency kit. Absolutely not, you're the only one small enough to fit through the access tunnels quickly. Vara, you know I'm right. She growled, a sound that rattled his bones but thrust a breather mask into his hands. Go, but if you die, the captain will flay me alive. The access tunnels were tight, hot, and filled with acrid smoke. Kevin's breather mask kept him from choking, but he could feel the heat through his suit. The breach was worse than reported, a jagged tear in the hull, atmosphere venting into space, and the life support control panel sparking dangerously. His training kicked in. Seal the breach first, then repair the systems. He worked with methodical precision, even as his hands shook and his heart tried to hammer its way out of his chest. 20 minutes later, the breach was sealed, life support was restored, and Kevin was slumped against the wall, exhausted. Kevin, Elsa's voice came through his comm, tight with worry. Status. Breach sealed, systems operational. I'm fine, just need a minute. Stay there, I'm coming to you. Captain, you're needed on the... But she was already there, squeezing through the access tunnel with surprising grace for someone her size. Her eyes scanned him head to toe, checking for injuries. You reckless, brilliant fool. I did what needed to be done. You risked yourself, you could have died. So could any of your crew. That's the job, isn't it? Something shifted in Elsa's expression. She reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away, and placed her clawed hand against his cheek. Her scales were warm, surprisingly gentle. You are nothing like what I expected, Kevin Mitchell. Is that good or bad? I'm still deciding. But she was smiling, a real smile, fangs and all. Come, let's get you to medical, and then you can help me explain to the crew why I let their precious human crawl into a burning corridor. The raiders had fled, outmatched by Elsa's tactics and the Traverse's firepower. In the aftermath, something had changed. The crew still watched over Kevin, still fussed and worried, but there was respect there now too. He'd proven himself not as a fragile male to be protected, but as a member of the crew who would risk everything for his shipmates. And Elsa began joining him in the observation deck more often. They'd talk about engineering, about their worlds, about the vast gulf between human and Dracorian culture. Sometimes they'd just stand in comfortable silence, watching the stars streak by. One evening, as they shared a quiet moment, Elsa spoke softly. You know, when this assignment ends, you'll be famous on Dracoria Prime, the human male who worked in space with dragon women. They'll want to study you, interview you, perhaps even keep you. Keep me. Protected, cherished, the way we keep our males. Her expression was unreadable. Would you want that? Safety, comfort, reverence. Kevin thought about it, really thought about it. Then he looked at Elsa, at the infinite possibilities reflected in her amber eyes, and smiled. I think I'd prefer adventure, the kind where I'm treated as an equal, not a treasure to be locked away. The kind where I work alongside the most incredible crew in the galaxy. Elsa's smile was radiant. Then, Engineer Mitchell, I believe we have several more missions in our contract, if you're willing to endure an overprotective dragon crew. I think I can manage. Her tail brushed against his hand, a gesture he'd learned meant affection, trust. Good, because I find I've grown, accustomed to having you aboard my ship. As the celestial traverse jumped to hyperspace, carrying them toward new adventures, Kevin realized he'd found something he'd never expected among the stars. A place where he belonged, not despite being different but because of it. And maybe, just maybe, something else too. Something that shimmered between species and cultures like starlight through a prism, unexpected and beautiful. And